Welcome back, everybody, to J-Face Games. Today we're doing something a little different. This is a working video. So I'm going to take you through some of the character designs I've made thus far. We're just going to stick with the warrior class and some of the subclasses, and then we're going to make one of the subclasses. And I'm going to show you kind of how I approach this madness. And so maybe you learned something, maybe you don't, maybe it's ridiculous. So here are the classes I have so far that I've been working on and making. And down here is the, whoa, we zoomed in super quick. Here is the warrior the warrior class. So what do we got here? Let's move this away to the side. And what we have here is a description of what a warrior is. Combat's your specialty, and you have to sustain damage. You understand combat. It's a place that you belong. All right. Now, I've broken things down into features and skills. Features is now what I'm just kind of calling the powers or abilities that you might have. And skills are obviously, I'm still overhauling the skill system, but as of now, I'm just getting ideas down. And you're going to see that a lot in this. So first thing, features, opportunity attack. So warriors are the only ones that are going to have opportunity attack, similar to, I think, Pathfinder does it this way. The original Pathfinder 2e. And then the other thing is that I've added in, for every base class, another way to generate teamwork points. So for those that are just joining in, this is all for the pressure system, a game I'm designing, and you can read about those rules in the link down below. But one of the things you do is you build up teamwork points. In some games, like ICRPG and a couple others, if you miss, that sucks. And so what happens when you miss, you generate a point, and that point is something that you can add as a plus later on to hit. Well, we've taken it a little bit further in the pressure system, where when you miss, you generate a point for the team. There's a little pool of points. Any point in time, someone can spend that pool of points to either add to their chance to hit, add to their chance to defend themselves, all sorts of other little things. And so now, I didn't want it just to be the only way you could build up teamwork points was from missing, but I wanted each class to have a built-in mechanic that helps them build up teamwork points. And we just did a playtest on this, and it was awesome. It was really cool. And so the warrior, if you start your turn and you're already engaged with the target, guess what? You add one teamwork point to the pool. Just to give you an idea of some of the other ones we had. For the rogue, every time you changed zones, you generated a teamwork point, and that was actually a lot of fun. The rogue was bouncing everywhere. And then for the zealots, every time you added a condition, or now it's going to be every time you add a condition to either an enemy or a teammate, so whether you're hindering an enemy in some way or you're boosting up a teammate in some way, anytime you add a condition, or I should say, any turn you add a condition, you generate one. So you're not going to add one teamwork for every condition you throw around. But if you've done a condition that round, guess what? You get a teamwork point. And this was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with this. Skills, weapon proficiency, all of them. Shield proficiency, sure. I don't know what this means, but it's fighter. It makes sense to me in terms of being a warrior. So now let's get down. The first one is the tactician. What you're going to see here is, once again, it has features and skills. And what I like to do is I just write down things that sound cool to me. And you're going to see, especially for the next one, how that gets even more drastic. But to me, I just write down things that are really kind of cool and evocative to me. And I usually have a list of stuff from other games that I've kind of compiled that are inspirational. So the tactician, here's the description. You're a true master of the dance that is combat. Ability to affect the ebb and flow of combat, soldiers, warlords, classes, fighters, etc. So weapons, you use all weapons, not just martial. You have a knowledge towards war or strategy tactics. So now, what do we have over here? Some of them don't have abilities yet, but we'll get there. Intercept, so there's going to be some sort of, an enemy's about to attack my friend. I can either defend for them or I can take the hit or something along those lines. Order, this is going to be giving someone movement. Taunt, you're bringing someone to an engagement to you, probably someone in your zone. Heavy, 2-point mitigation. We'll talk about armor. It's another video. So now these have a little bit more. These, you can see I didn't have full descriptions, but they worked out well in the playtest. I just kind of added the rules on the fly. Here you start seeing that I start getting a little bit better about, okay, let's really flush it out mechanically. Tactical delay. When you take a focus, this should say actually a center aim action. another player gets a +1 action with you. So what does that mean? Well, I do turn-based initiative, so all the players go first, then all the bad guys go. But if you decide that you want to take a center or action or aim action, what that means is that you're saying you're going to go after the bad guys this round. And typically what that means is you get some sort of bonus for doing it. If we look over here in the rules, you'll see that usually you'll get a +1 to your roll. But there are certain abilities that are going to be only triggered if you take the aim or center. So you're only going to be able to use them if you have done that. What this says is that if you do that, you get to also give someone else an action. So this paired really nicely, specifically with the rogue, because the rogue was a duelist. And so the tactician was able to delay their turn because now they were able to set up the rogue to get an extra attack, which was kind of fun. And then I created a bunch of stances. Up here we have dance, that is combat. So to me, I really like the idea of stances. And so at the beginning of your turn, you always just choose what stance you're in. And here are 3 different stances. So we had striker stance, which is you get advantage on your attacks. I put boring because I want more to it. But it worked out. Defensive stance, you get advantage on your defense. Makes sense. And then lead from the front, which is allies in your zone get your leadership die with advantage. So this person was no longer getting any bonuses for themselves, but I think that the tactician had a D6 leadership die. So if they did that, any allies in their zone also now used that for their attack. So that was really fun. That was a really nice little teamwork. Follow me, immediately take the lead for a faction when battle starts. This is more like NPCs. So if you're in a zone and there are some friendlies in there, you could use this ability, and then all of a sudden you get to direct them where they're going. So that's nice little player agency. The player is able to take kind of control for a moment. Now, what you'll notice is none of these have stress associated with them. So the mechanic we're using in this game, stress, which is both your hit points or your hit points, your health, 0 to 20, where 20 is you're knocked out, so you're accruing stress as you're playing. Well, these abilities cost stress. I didn't have numbers down here when I did it because I wanted to do the play test and see how often were players getting hit, how fast was their stress going up. What it seems to be is that the cost for abilities is somewhere between 0 to 3. 3 is a lot because you're taking stress throughout the game. Some abilities will be free, and I would assume that most abilities are going to be somewhere between 1 and 2. So that was the tactician. Ton of fun. What's really cool is we tried out a couple personal flavors too, because now if you look at it, you have this, I have an ability from my warrior that's going to, my class itself kind of sets the stage of how I might play. My tactician really sets the stage, and the personal flavor, it was a nice, I would say that all the players that were in the playtest used ability from all 3 of these. There's a lot of abilities here. I told them, we're going to use them all. This is probably the equivalent of, if it's a 0 to 10th level like character progression, they probably just played a 7th level character. And they said it wasn't overwhelming, which was nice. All right, let's look at the Fury. So now the Fury, this is kind of like a berserker of sorts. In time, you've determined that ferocity beats caution. A stronger offense will always decimate a strong defense. There is no hesitation or holding back. If you hold back, you put yourself and others at risk. So skills, athleticism, D10. They're brutes. Intimidation, endurance, yeah, advantage to those abilities. I get it. Features. This is more in line with how I develop. I think that the first tactician was the first class I made of all these classes. I've made 5 so far. The Fury was the most recent one I've made. And to me, this is more evocative of how I create classes. I just write things down that this is what I do. I write down things that I think the person's going to say or very specific situations. So, a Fury. You think this will slow me down or slow me? So what this is you immediately shake off a condition, right? You shake off one of the negative conditions. And it's going to be some sort of cost, but it's going to be a stress cost, probably like 1 stress point per condition. Boom, you shake them all off. Not yet. This is, if any point in time you're about to go to 20, you immediately go to 19 instead. Right? You do this 1 time in encounter, maybe 2 times. Maybe it'll level up. Maybe there'll be a little tree here and it'll be like second version of it, Don't worry, I got him. You can move to another zone and attack as 1 action. So this is like a charge, right? Tactical blindness. I love this. This is kind of like you're, raging out. When you miss, instead of adding 1 to the teamwork point, which would be very team-oriented, instead, you will get a +2 damage on your next attack. So you could probably set out like a d6 and start stacking this up and say, that's my tactical blindness die. So you miss a bunch, you might then have a massive hit, but your team's missing out. I can tell you that during the playtest, those teamwork points, every one that ticked up, like I don't think the teamwork point pool ever got above 5. That was a rare scenario. Most of the time it was like 1, 2, and then someone would use it. 1, 2, 3, and someone would use it because it was very, very helpful. Wild attack. Increase your striker die by 1 step. Then also do ×2 damage. In addition to your defense is now d4 until the next turn. So your defense gets really terrible. Your striker die, you have a better chance of hitting, and you're going to do more damage. Damage in the system. We tried in the playtest using the effort system from ICRPG. I didn't have a damage system built out, so we just kind of slapped that one on. It didn't feel satisfying. It's a wonderful system, but the unsatisfying aspect was that the pressure system was actually so much fun. Rolling the pressure die with your die, it was so fun and it felt so climactic that when you beat the pressure die by a lot, you were excited. And then you'd roll damage and it would be like, so you would have like, say the pressure die was like an 8 and you were rolling a d6 and you rolled a 6 and the pressure die rolled a 1 and you thought, I crushed it. And then you roll your damage and you get a 1 damage. And it was like, ugh. So now the damage is going to be the difference that you get from the pressure die, which is what the monsters were doing to the PCs anyway, so it makes sense. So what happens is, in that scenario, I roll a 6, the pressure die gets a 1, that's 5 damage. This barbarian this fury would then do 10 damage, right? Because he would double if he was doing this wild attack. Come with me, you move into another zone, and you drag up to 2 minions or commoners with you, so you're just dragging people along. You make me so angry, you become empowered. You keep this in condition until you miss on an attack. So this is sort of like a raging ability. At some point in time, there will be a voluntary losing of the condition, and you're going to get something. I just don't know what it is. If we look on the right, the conditions, what do you get for being empowered? Empowered is that you increase your action die step by 1. So if you're a striker die of d6, now it's a d8. And if you do a wild attack, now it's a d10. You can stack up some craziness. But once again, remember, these are going to be costing stress. So I might be dishing out massive damage, but if I've got this up and I'm also swinging away, this might be accruing stress. So you have your rawr. You place the shaken condition on all minions and commoners that are either engaged, close, or nearby. This should be close. So they're either engaged, they're around you, or they're in zones that are adjacent to yours. Very, very angry man. Or woman. Violence isn't always the answer, but it's fun. So after killing an enemy, you are either focused or bolstered. Your choice. So here are the focused and bolstered conditions. Bolstered, you have action die advantage. So now you just get to roll double the dice, and it's just whatever the die you're using, you've got advantage on it. Focused is you get +1 for all your skill checks. And +1's a big deal when you're rolling something like a d6, right? Which is probably what the adventurer die is for this person initially. If you're having trouble with some of the lingo I'm using, I'm not explaining out all the rules, but once again, the rules are below for the pressure system. Also, there are playtest notes in there. So, what is our last warrior class? The last warrior class is the Seeker. So this is the point in time where if you enjoyed this walkthrough, you can head on out, or you could skip to the end where maybe the Seeker's done, because I don't know how long this is going to take. So, we have the Seeker class. And let me pull up some guides here. So what do we know about the Seeker? The Seeker, you have purpose. Your arrows find their targets once loosed. So they have a range. They can be close, but they are ranged. You choose a query and navigate the field of combat to deal with them. So they're going to be very mobile, very hard to pin down when they're heading towards the thing they hate. Find those who have escaped you, understand the landscape and the weather, and you use focus and persistence as your weapons. So they're going to have a doggedness, and we're definitely going to have to use the focused condition at some point in time, because I think that hits it. So here on the right, are notes. These are notes that I have. I'm going to make it a little bigger, that I kind of took from different systems, right? So you have some Numenera stuff up here that I thought were really cool. You have some abilities in here that are probably combinations from Quest, combinations from Dungeon World, D&D, all those kind of things. And so I'm going to kind of look through these and see what I think looks cool, right? And then think about what are the other things I'd like. So right off the bat, there's already like the more times you hit something, so the more, let me zoom out just a smidge on this so it's not as tight. All right. There's probably like the more times you hit a target, the more damage, right? Something like you're constantly hitting the same target typically, and the more you're attacking it, the better you're getting at attacking it. So I'm just going to put that there as a thing. So better single target multi-attack, in essence, is what's happening here. That's kind of similar, but not really. Let's see. Skirmisher, you get a second turn after the enemy's side turn. This turn, you get one action only move. That's kind of nice. So that's the idea of maybe what you're doing is extra action during center round or center turn, move or attack against move or attack on or towards your query, right? So you're hyper focused, right? So you get an extra little action, extra little move, and maybe that is your multi-attack. The multi-attack is that it's not you're getting 2 attacks in the same round, which is probably good because that fits into some other abilities we've already created, but instead you're getting a consistent barrage. Because in essence, you're still getting 2 attacks in the same round, but you're not doing them on the same action turn. So that's kind of nice. Let's go ahead and take that, and we're going to do that with it, just to show that I've already used it. Some sort of duel, some sort of establishing a duel, remedy scavenger, read the winds, navigate, can't get lost in the wilderness, can find a far shot, make a very far shot that you normally would not be able to do. Let's figure out this quarry ability. So we're going to have to figure out some sort of quarry ability. And we're also going to have some sort of ranged attack ability. Okay, and so now that we've got a couple ideas down here, no, scavenger remedy for temporary illness or poison. Now, when not engaged, you get bonuses to AC. Yes. So I'm going to put, not nimble feet, we're just going to put when not engaged, increase defense die by 1 step. That's big. That's really nice. And what's nice about that is that this person is going to be able to dump stats into marksmanship, dump points into marksmanship, and not worry about the defense until they are engaged. And then there's a problem. But maybe what happens is odds are their quarry is going to engage them. And so that might make things challenging, right? All right, let's see. Anything else that we like here? I like this concept of successive hits. The target hit the target and can swing again at the same target up to your level of extra attacks. No, that's a little too much. But I like the idea of you have that successive hits. Once again, that kind of, we already have this ability. We kind of already have this one. So I think that already hits those 2. So we're fine with that. Decreased AC in melee, but can use things like cleave at range. Okay, so multi-attack. We've got an idea of multi-attack. Ranged, because there aren't really multi-attack ranged yet. Okay, perfect. All right. So, well, this is already fitting the multi-attack range. So this is maybe just better range. Okay, so now let's get really... We got some ideas down. I'm going to put these up over here. And I'm going to say things like... What? Like, you can't escape me? You can't escape me. That might be something you say. Might say... what else might they say? My arrows will find you. That might be something cool. What else is there? We've got something about like I'm learning you're becoming predictable. You're becoming predictable, right? I like that because that kind of to me is like I'm learning your style of fighting. You know, this is something on the query, right? So against query, you get extra damage. What was it? +1 damage each successful hit. I don't know if this is gonna be melee. Maybe this is melee hits. Successful melee hit. Because I think that there's this going to be this interesting balance between this guy's good at ranged, but he also is good one-on-one close up. Right? So maybe that fits this one. Maybe that gets this. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. So that's one. My arrows will find you. What is that? My arrows will find you. So maybe it's you... Oh, what about pin him down? Pin him down. Pin him down. Right? That sounds something cool in terms of like shooting an arrow and keeping them still. Because let's think about this. We've got to have some team stuff. And we've got to have some... once again, we have to have some controller, some strike. So this is kind of a... I'm going to put under here, I'm going to put striker. Right? This is kind of a striker and ability. This is probably a controller ability, right? Because you're probably doing something where you're controlling them. My arrows will find you. This is a marksman ability. And so the reason I'm doing this is because I technically want all classes to be viable for all attributes, right? Like you got to have a benefit to doing each attribute. So this is more of a controller as well, right? Okay. So maybe we need some sort of leadership thing. Follow my shaft. No, that's terrible. That's I hope someone makes a t-shirt of that at some point in time. Pressure system, follow my shaft. No, follow my... What's another way of saying that doesn't make it terrible? Arc. Follow my arrow with, this point in time it needs to be, you get the gist. In essence, it's going to be, follow my, or something along the lines of, I'm shooting my arrows and I'm trying to get, I'm breaking a path maybe, right? It's like I'm suppression fire, right? So it's like suppression fire maybe. But it's not really suppression fire. It's more like cutting a hole in the defenses. So maybe this eliminate all opportunity attacks in a zone by enemies, right? Maybe it's that. Or maybe you push enemies out of zone, right? So you're just suppression firing and you're making it so that they can't engage, or maybe that's it. Maybe it's Maybe it's disengage all enemies in a zone, right? That sounds cool. In a zone. So to me, this is like a leadership thing. I guess it's kind of controllery. It depends on which one of these things we do, right? Because if we do you're pushing the enemies around and you're disengaging them, then that's a controller ability. But if you're doing something like, I don't know. I want it to be more of leadership, but it's sounding very controlly. But that's okay. We can make it controlly. But maybe you can do something like, maybe there is an ability where you're adding some sort of assist to someone. And what you're doing is, I'm just going to put down what I think it might do is like increase allies defensive die by +2. I'm going to do +2. We haven't done that yet. Or no, how about this? AD6 for ally defensive die. We haven't used any +2s yet or any of those kind of things. We've mostly been just doing advantages and stuff, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. So I don't know what this is yet, but maybe this is suppression fire. I don't know. But once again, it's getting away from, maybe he's yelling something. Something like, I've got your back. Far back, right? Because you're ways away and you're helping someone out. So you're shooting. Perfect. What else do we need? So we've got those extra attack during center. Let's say pin him down. This is going to be enemy target can't move on turn. Simple enough. Thematic sounds good. We've got some range stuff. I'll tell you what, let's put the range stuff over here. And we've got, so maybe, I don't want to hamper this class, but maybe this is the, take an extra ranged attack in the aim center phase. I'll just call it phase. Which now we kind of lose, like, it's now you have a choice, which that's good. I always like choices where I get extra attacks if I'm using my ranged, my arrows, but I get potential increased successive damage if I'm melee. So it's a choice, right? I'm making this choice of, am I going to get in close range, or am I going to get, multiple attacks, right? And this is multiple attacks, so the nice thing about this is I'm not going to put query on here because this is where you can potentially hit multiple targets. Shoot this guy, shoot this guy, shoot this guy. Okay, what else we got? Query ability. I think this is a query ability already. Well, there's how do you establish a query? So then we just have I hate you. That's terrible. Establish a query. There we go. All right, we'll change that later. But right now, this is how I operate, people. This is how I operate. Deal with it. Ranged melee, ranged attack, multi-attack. We got that down here. What's it? When engaged, let's see, slippery, hard. Let's see, it's nimble now. Out of my way? No, out of my way sounds like knock someone back. So what is like you're hard to grab, something you would say as you're kind of dodging around. You're not worth my time, maybe, right? So it's like, you're not worth my time. This being that, like, this is an ability in my brain, is that you're using to get to your query. Right? You're trying to get to him, and so you're potentially running through the bad guys, right? In order to get to whoever it is you're trying to get to. Okay? Maybe. We'll just come back to that. I'm not sold on that one being that. It might be, it might not be. I still want something. Let's see what we've got so far. We've got better defense, right? So this is defensive technically. Defender, right? So you got some better defense. You've got I hate you. That's just a static ability. I hate you so much. Right? I hate you so much. Establish query. You can't escape me. Right? That's just, we don't know what that does yet, but we'll figure that out. Let's move that down. Let's put query on top. Let's put, now I got to get to the query. Let's put, if I get to him, I'm going to start punching him good. And now you can't escape me. Let's say, ooh, this is here's a choice. I like this. When engaged with a target, it cannot disengage from you. It's a great choice. When I'm engaged, my defense is less. But when I'm engaged, that person can't get away from me. Oh, yes. I love it. I love that kind of choice. I don't know if that's going to work out. That might suck. Might suck. But look, this ranger, I called it a ranger, but this seeker might end up taking high defense and then just not taking this feat that you're not worth my time. Or maybe they do. I don't know. They get choices because you're not going to get all of these, right? How many abilities we got so far? Let's take a gander. We've got 9 over here, and we've got 8 over here. Okay. So what are we missing? We've got a leadership one here. We've got this is more controller, let's be honest. I tried to make it leader, but it's controller. Oh no, everything's breaking. We've got a controller, defender, striker, controller, marksman, leadership. Do we need another marksman? Do we need another way to do, because we've got damaged melee. We've got just lots of attacks and range. I don't know if we need another marksman. What else about the description? Focus. Focus, persistence. Persistence, I think we've got. We need conditions. Yeah, we need to throw some conditions around. So right now, the thing we don't have is adding conditions to things. So what kind of conditions do we got? Let's take a little gander. Let's get some inspiration. We've got conditions we can give our friends. Yay! And we've got conditions, and we've got conditions we can give the enemy. So we can confuse people. Confuse is a great ability for getting skill checks down, but we probably care more about like making them more vulnerable or weakened. All right, vulnerable meaning that it's easier to hit them. Weakened meaning they don't hurt our friends as much. Shaken is also really bad for them. So let's do making someone vulnerable, maybe. Maybe if we're attacking a target, maybe we do this. Maybe, what did I have before? You're becoming predictable. That was a cool one. Damn it. That's a good name. Because now I want to use it for something similar to marksman. What is it when it's like you see the archer and they hit and then they hit the same target again. They hit the same spot. It's like zone. Like I'm getting in the zone. Or they're getting into like flow. So then it's like archery zone. You know, something like that, right? That sounds terrible. Terrible name. Oh, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. But archery zone would be maybe breathe. Wait. Exhale, fire. Exhale, fire. Right? So it's this idea of like you're getting into this rhythm. You're getting into this rhythm, and you're now, kicking ass. So this is a marksman, and we're going to say that this is you add the vulnerable condition to your target, right? So now it's this idea that you're making it easier to hit them on the next hit. So we'll say on a successful ranged attack, until the end of this round. Why do I do that? To me, I'm trying to, and I'll probably make this free. This will probably be, we'll just say 0 stress, right? Because to me, the idea is that this combos with this. So I'm going to try and hit twice. I'm going to try and hit once on my turn, and then I'm going to get an extra action on the center aim phase. And if I hit on that first turn, boom, he's vulnerable. Not only is he vulnerable for me, but he's technically vulnerable for my allies. So this is like also, this is marksman, but it's also controller. So I like it. All right. So let me know what you think. I mean, skills wise, I think the easy things on here would be like, ranged weapons. Ranged weapon for efficiency, whatever that means. We don't know yet. Who cares? Sounds good. I would say he's probably still only going to have light armor, not going to be having any sort of heavy armor. Probably like natural terrain, AD8. All right, so you're just really good at natural terrain, navigating natural terrain. I'm going to say something like, what other things fit with this class? Delicious. What other delicious things with the Seeker? Better multi-attack, blah, blah, blah. Those are fine. Focus. So maybe like some sort of, we'll put, we had this, so on the, don't kill me, guys. On the Discord, we just talked about skill challenges, our skills all day today. And there was a whole, it was a hot topic. But perception was a hot topic. The term perception and all these things. So we're just going to put notice here. We're going to put notice. Just because I don't need people killing me. It's not final. It's just the idea that this person is very good at picking up things combat-wise. Notice, how about this? I'll put notice in combat, during combat. Because that's when he's attuned, or he or she is attuned. So there we go. I don't know how this works. I don't know if I love it yet, but I like it. I definitely like it. We're going to have to play test it, see how it feels, how it functions. This is my process, if you can call it that. I don't know if it's process or if it's mania, but I enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed it. I've got a lot more classes to make, so if you'd like me to do this again, hit the subscribe button, hit the little boop boop thumbs up icon, and leave some comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon.